The field. Every neighborhood has one. Grass, concrete, or dirt. The stage is the same. The rules, unwavering. And the goals, beautiful.
It goes in! Improbable scenes!
It's where the dream begins to achieve the ultimate victory.
The underdogs have prevailed once again!
One cup, open to all.
There is a celebration in Orlando.
Now, America's oldest soccer tournament is back.
Oh, it's incredible!
The field doesn't care if you're a pro or trying to be one. It only asks, how bad do you want it?
It's unbelievable!
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
The Queen City and the Steel City, a rivalry renewed of sorts. Pittsburgh has never beaten Cincinnati. Tonight, their biggest matchup yet. It is the quarterfinal of the 2023 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. With Evan Kerr, Mike Watts, we're down to just 8 in the East Region. Inter Miami and Birmingham play tomorrow. The winner of this matchup and that matchup in the semifinal in August. Devin, if you're looking at FC Cincinnati, they had to go the distance against the Red Bulls.
But they were able to dig in and get it done. And that's the most important thing, because when they've struggled for goals, they're still finding ways to A, prevent them on the other side, but B, showcase the character that Pat Noonan has really started to talk about. Their exploitations in the final third are really starting to uptick. Yuya Kubo got them going, but they finish it from the spot to get them into the quarterfinals. Their opponent in the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Danny Griffin. The good news is for the Hounds is they're starting early. 44 minutes in, Danny Griffin hits the back of the net on the road against the New England Revolution. You can sit deep, they can press high, but most importantly, they got to get their goal scorers going. They got that 22 minutes in against the Columbus Crew. Albert Dequa gives them the dream into the back of the net and the hope into the final 8.
Houndtown loves it. Christian Pulisic does too.
Hey, it's Christian Pulisic here. Want to wish Bob Lilly and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds all the best tonight in the U.S. Open Cup. Hope you guys come out with the win, and yep, all the best.
His dad, Mark, used to coach with Bob Lilly. Lilly, the Riverhounds head coach, has assembled this 11 with a lot of changes.
They sit deep and they have changeability within their formation. A lot of flexibility, but most importantly, their number 9, Albert Dequa, back from injury, 9 goals and 11 appearances in the USL Championship. Pat Noonan, FC Cincinnati, 8 of their preferred 11. A very strong lineup for the home team. Lucho Acosta pulling the strings in the final third with Brandon Vasquez, 7 goals and 11 Open Cup games all time.
A look at FC Cincinnati and Lucho Acosta leading that huddle. A genuine MVP candidate in Major League Soccer. What a tremendous campaign he's put together. He goes from the jump here tonight. As Devin intimated, 8 of their 11 preferred starters, you could argue, are going from the jump. Albert Dequa is back from a hamstring tweak. It was unclear if he'd go at all tonight. As recently as 48 hours ago. Got the go-ahead yesterday. He'll start. Elvis Osmanovic. Here we go, FC Cincinnati and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in the last 8 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup in 2023. Pittsburgh of the 2nd Division USL Championship, FC Cincinnati from top flight Major League Soccer. Comes to Biasi, back to Dos Santos. Awkward foot in from Gaddis. Cincinnati has recovered. Dev, I thought one of the most intriguing comments that Bob Lilly made yesterday, we can't go through 15 or 20 minutes, try and weather the storm and sneak into halftime 0-0. We have to prove to FC Cincinnati that we can cause them harm too.
Well, I'd make that argument in a USL Championship game for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, that they have to show their opponent that they're there, because one of their Achilles heels is probably sitting back a little bit too much, but especially against FC Cincinnati. Get right up in their face, make them feel uncomfortable. That's the most important thing. Pat Noonan's boys are so good about maintaining the game and playing the way that they want to play and understanding what's being put in front of them. Don't allow them the luxury.
Baji pushes wide. Costa toward Baji. Arias. That's the call to start again. Forward from Wobedo. Biasi clears. As far as Dequa. Rivera. He's probably the biggest surprise of all in the starting 11, Dev.
Easily pen him in just a short couple of months ago, right? What he would have been to this team, but injury and making his way back. Friendly reminder that in that victory over the Columbus Crew, Gene's on the sideline celebrating, jumping up and down. So, you know, his return isn't necessarily surprising, but immediately into the 11, something to keep an eye on. And I mentioned changeability was the word used in the lineup. Whether it's Rivera, Danny Griffin, Robbie Mertz, all comfortable within the central locations, but you'll see them jostle side to side, chasing marks, but also trying to unbalance their attack going forward. They're very unpredictable. It's one of the best things about them. They can sit with 5. They'll compact themselves into a 3, put their wing backs up high, sit deep and try and counter, maintain possession. The MO of this manager is the ability to show you so many different looks. That's why you've gotten success at every stop that he's been at. And at the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, 62 wins, 21 losses, and 33 draws all time. That's not too shabby.
Biasi into Dequa. Forward from Moreno. It's toward Wobedo. Rivera recovers. Dequa. Mertz wears the captain's armband. Rivera. Mertz trying to dodge. Potentially incisive moment for Cincinnati. Arias fouled by Rivera.
Beautiful little step up off the back line. This is something that the Hounds are going to be uncomfortable with. It's one of the more impressive things for me about this FC Cincinnati squad is the aggression that you get. Guys like Matt Miazga, Nick Hagelin, Ian Murphy, who's made himself feel comfortable over the last couple of stretch of matches, immediately stepping in, winning the tackle, and then not necessarily spraying it themselves, but pushing it up high.
Costa hangs that up, header toward target, away from Wade. Matt Miazga rising to meet it. 16 starts in the league this year without a goal, but throws the first jab at Pittsburgh tonight.
Second ball, redirect back across. Just watch the central spot. You've got Arturo Ordonez right at the top of the 6th. Got to be smarter. If you're going to lose the first one, you cannot allow yourself to be put in a situation where there's a free header on the second. Joey Farrell, good job tracking to the backside, but Arturo Ordonez, as he sprays onto the right side of this back 3, positionally, set pieces or not, he's got to step in those situations.
Header upward and over the top, Dequa. Dequa is through. Dequa got the shot away. It's wide. It is deflected for a corner. And Albert Dequa showing what he brings to the table back from injury.
Yeah, this is the biggest question mark coming in, whether or not they would have their 9 up top. Beautiful touch with his head. And how's the recovery, by the way? His second gets caught up just a little bit right there, so he's got to pause, but it is a good job by Ian Murphy to come back over that left shoulder and at least cloud the vision.
Ball across, cleared out by Junior Atu. Hung over the top, Hagelin, Arias underneath, pressured by Rivera. Vasquez rattles around and out. Great crowd tonight in Cincinnati, to the surprise of absolutely nobody. You know, Pittsburgh with a franchise record attendance over 6,000 for their game against Columbus Crew that ultimately dissipated any chance for a hell is real rematch. But FC Cincinnati fans don't really care who they play. They're still going to show up in droves.
Nor what day it is, nor what the weather is.
And now they expect to win every time.
Amazing how quickly things change. Incredible job done by the front office and Chris Albright, Pat Noonan. Had the opportunity to see them a couple of times in person this year, going back to the Seattle game. 3 games in, March 11th. You talk about opponent and location. Now, obviously, a Western Conference team in general, yet alone the Seattle Sounders, is going to draw a nice crowd. 36 degrees out, snowing. They're tailgating 4 hours ahead of time.
These two teams arguably in the best form in all of U.S. soccer right now. FC Cincinnati, top of the table in Major League Soccer, wild. 9 wins and 9 tries at home in MLS. It is 11 unbeaten across all competitions for FCC. Pittsburgh's not having a shabby run of form either. 6 consecutive victories. They've gone 9 unbeaten in all competitions. They sit second the USL Championships Eastern Conference. To be fair, these two teams are more familiar than you might expect for a first and second division clash. Slid through toward Baji, Etu. That's good, Griffin. Wobedo, stride for stride. 10th meeting, Pittsburgh has never won.
Well, the good news for them is that last couple of meetings, 4 out of the last 6, you're trying to find some positive thoughts, right?
Sure.
They've actually been able to hit the back of the net, so that's a good one, because the first 4 shutouts galore. That's certainly part of the DNA that is this FC Cincinnati squad now.
That's Dikwa gone wrong. The fact that this form has come with Dikwa picking up an injury, all the more impressive. Pittsburgh has climbed behind only Charleston in the East, and to be fair, they do play Ben Pierman's Battery this upcoming weekend. Bob Lilly might be the only coach in America in the lower divisions who has a quarterfinal match in the Open Cup. Says, I do have to consider rotation for our game on Saturday.
Kudos.
Yep.
The fact that that's even on the forefront of his mind gives you an idea of mentally how deep he dives into what is standing in his way. Quite a few conversations with him over the years about that and what the next opponent looks like. Workload balance, trying to find the right matchups.
Rolled over by Griffin. He was impeded. Baji. Ray Gaddis.
Just notice the setup centrally, by the way. They've dropped Junior A2 down underneath. You and I were discussing what this might look like in the lineup with the 4, but A2 comes underneath, Danny Griffin in front. I told you I kind of like the look of a diamond. It's not that. How's that touch by Lucho Acosta?
Acosta reins it in at the end line. Acosta inside, slid away by Nate Dos Santos at the last moment. Bob Lilly was hoping maybe Acosta would come off the bench tonight. Acosta's ready to go from the jump.
The whole point of it tactically is to eliminate balls centrally, but I said to you, the biggest problem you run into is he doesn't stay central. He goes wherever he wants, especially once you move over midfield. Making the opponent feel uncomfortable, getting to the outside, even though it's all the way to the byline. Closed off in a 3v1. Still almost getting the best of him.
That's the first card issued tonight. Of course, Pittsburgh, if they're able to keep Acosta off the board, could possibly, maybe, make it 3 shutouts from 3 against MLS competition. That's the underrated part of the Open Cup form. Here's a look at what led to the first caution issued for Wobedo.
Certainly contact on the backside. Referee electing for the card, maybe a little bit surprising, to be fair. So early. First infraction. Doesn't necessarily like the little pinch off the body.
You know, don't forget, Wobedo, when these teams met last year, had just been announced as a signing for Cincinnati. So maybe some Cincinnati fans have gotten used to seeing him week after week, but it hasn't been that long that he's been there. That was one of the points of conversation we had with Pat Noonan when we spoke to him last year. Dikwa continues to be attended to. I asked Pat Noonan this week about the difference between then and now, and he pointed to the roster that was assembled for that game. Only 4 guys still remain from that team. They were trying to figure out who we trust, who we like, who we can develop. And now that they're a year further, and the wave there from Waite is the first sign that maybe Dikwa's day is done. That would be a tremendous loss for Bob Lilly.
This is obviously his shoulder, but just watch his reaction on the backside of this thing. You wonder the way it drops. Immediately trying to hold it with the, I mean, he's looking to try and find a way to brace himself. Look, he actually tucks underneath it. You can't fault Wobodeau the way that he steps in. We've all been there 100%, and you're trying to apply pressure on the backside, but the way that he's holding that.
That's a devastating loss for Pittsburgh. They just got him back, and Tola showing me might be called into service way sooner than he expected. Could go a couple of routes here. That's Mark Ibarra. There's Bob Lilly. 22 years, Dev, of being a head coach, and the numbers are promising. He might have a future in this.
He's just, you and I address what he has meant to, I'm not even going to say lower division. You have to say American soccer.
Yep.
Because for such a long period of time, Bob Lilly having an impact on so many professionals in this country. And you wondered, you know, coming in, what they were going to chase without Albert Dikwa. We didn't have to worry about that because you end up getting him in squad selection, as is Robbie Mertz available and in the 11, which is nice. But now you lose him after the one chance. You bring in another midfielder in Mark Ibarra. As he comes in, you fan one outside. You know, does Robbie Mertz now jump up a little bit? That's the real question here. You're certainly electing for a possession-based look to continue forth, or at least stretch this game until you get further, because you had to burn that sub.
Farrell got in front of Acosta after the clever play by Brandon Vasquez. The plan was to flood the midfield, leave one forward. They now have no forwards and another midfielder. It appears Danny Griffin might be tasked with leading the line. Hacklin. Hold up from Baji. Farrell with a wag of the hand. Is quite the tactician. He's having to put those skills to work. Vasquez maintained so beautifully. Wobodeau. Haji drops. Moreno finding the advanced tackling. It's by Wobodeau. He's back on it though. Moreno for Vasquez. Header smashed away by Dos Santos. DC Harmon. Lost by Mertz. points.
Here's the problem. Obviously, you lose the striker and the goals, and I get all of that. That's a major issue. But just the positional understanding in the change in general, with Ibarra coming in, he drops into where Danny Griffin was sitting centrally. Danny Griffin comes up top, and just to chase, to try and push out that initial outlet pass into Wobodo, the way that Moreno pinches off. Now you've got to track both, and also the height aspect of things. No longer do you have a 6'2" striker on an outlet ball that you can play into and at least hope that can he have a little bit of hold-up play to bring the lines up with it. Instead, now you're playing into feet and off of a central spot. They're trying to pivot out with each other in hopes that you can at least create some support. It's a very different look that the Hounds are going to have to adjust to immediately. Counter argument, so is FC Cincinnati. If you can try and make it work for yourself.
Biasi got the cross in. Arias was pressuring. This will fall for Etu. Bit slow. Now Harmon speeds up and runs out of room. Now what's Pat Noonan looking at now?
You know, he's just going to understand that they're probably going to have even more of the ball now, believe it or not.
Yep.
And it's funny because that's not exactly what they're about, right? I mean, they're good at it, and it's not an issue. But with Pat Noonan, you know, trying to create depth overloads, that's a big deal for them. You know, if Wobodo's coming to shield to the near touchline, trying to create a secondary option as just opposed to one in and then go the other way. Well, now you've got a back three that's probably going to feel a lot more comfortable because Danny Griffin is going to have to figure out where the pressure is going to be coming from as the target man up top. Defensively, just watch the space in front of him. Imagine Griffin a little bit deeper, trying to play off of each other. Who steps in those situations?
The good news for Cincinnati, they've gotten some experience playing against teams that have given them more of the ball recently. The Rapids with a beat-up roster, but also a lot of schedule congestion that everyone's dealing with, perhaps playing a role in that. NYCFC gave them more time than they anticipated on the ball. This comes to Ibarra. He said it's not a trend yet. Ball slipped through, and there's Alec Can, who had his moment in penalties against New York Red Bulls in the last round. Hackland weaving. Banged off to Santos. Minutes complete in this quarterfinal. Winner gets either Inter Miami or Birmingham Legion in the semifinal of the Open Cup. Dominique Badji commits the foul as Etu started upfield.
Just let it spray from him a little bit on the first touch. There. On the cutback, doesn't get enough on it, and then a little pressure coming back over. You been to TQL, by the way?
Not yet.
No.
Devastating. Hoping to get there before the Bengals-Packers game, but I think that depends on Leagues Cup.
I don't even know when that is. What's today? What day is it?
What time zone are we?
I can exactly time zone and month I can do. Day, you're really asking something to me right now. Rumor has it Das Boot is where it's at, by the way.
Yeah.
Been there, didn't get the t-shirt.
Looked like Harmon with an errant elevated arm. Does continue with a smattering of boos. crossed over by Ordonez. This will be Harmon. A number of players acquired from Charleston as they stripped it down to the studs over the offseason. That is a corner for Pittsburgh, although one of their best options on set pieces, as you might anticipate, is the recently injured Dequan.
You have to like Joey Farrell, though. 15 in yellow, just approaching the top of the 18. He and Arturo Ordonez, normally the towers deployed on the back line for Bob Lilly. Really aggressive in the air, especially Joey Farrell. He will go up and attack this thing given the opportunity. Fortunate for him, he's matched up with Matt Miazga.
A little tugging between the two. Griffin. Acosta retreated with him. Room to get an unimpeded cross here. Dos Santos hangs it up. They were looking for Farrell. The USL Championship's all-time leader in stitches attained. Biasi kept it from Vasquez. That was short-lived, and now endeavoring Cincinnati. Powerfully across midfield. Acosta tackled from behind by Biasi. There was cover behind, but Biasi has got his inner Troy Polamalu or Von Bell, however you want to describe it, wrong sport.
I have a problem with this one because there's no movement on the ball whatsoever. I mean, it's blatant that there's only one thing on his mind, and it's to bring him down. Why not tackle if that's what the thought process is? Because you've got the trailing run, Nathan Dos Santos trying to stand up and hold two players with Brandon Vasquez over his left shoulder, Lucho's right. To take him down like that, this is one where you look around the rule book and just go, that's a yellow. And that's the argument from every player wearing a blue jersey right now. Matt Miazga immediately on the scene. Hard to blame the sentiment being shared within that group.
The problem is you won't like him when he's angry. And Jamali Waite may end up feeling all the weight of this.
I will say that where the infraction occurs, it's that gray area where you're 30 yards out, roughly. And obviously you want to have a go from this distance, but it is something special. And friendly reminder that if you haven't seen this Hounds team, Jamali Waite called into the Jamaican full national team last year. Now a part of their regular core group of goalkeepers in rotation. He can hold himself.
Lucho Acosta. He was looking for immediate revenge. Acosta came in about an hour into the game between these teams last year that went to extra time. Hey, fans, dive deeper into the thrills and drama of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Join the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at Open Cup and on Facebook at Official Open Cup. Baji chasing. He got a great read on that. Baji. Wonderful recovery by Arturo Ordonez. Does lead to a corner, however.
Pretty interesting how high the line is for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Good recovery by Arturo Ordonez. Dominique Baji. But with the speed that you get matched up over there, you have to be so careful, especially when DZ Harmon, his right wing back, when he jumps high and tries to go in possession, or you're playing him down into the corner, all of a sudden the likelihood of a one-on-one, quite scary.
Acosta, Miazga, and the foul en route. You know, Dev, what's funny about Jamali Waite, you mentioned into the Jamaican national team last year. He wasn't even the official #1 for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds when these teams met last year.
Yeah.
And Alec Can had just gotten injured. Roman Celentano was making his first pro start. No one knew what Celentano was. No one knew what Waite was. Both coaches had a feeling, an inkling, but we've come to find out quite a bit since.
I knew. For Celentano.
I was with Ricky Lopez-Espin on that game, and Ricky goes, I don't think either of these keepers are ever losing their job here again.
I'll tell you what, man, I remember Celentano coming through the draft, and fun little story behind the scenes, getting an opportunity to be a part of that. And one of the producers involved with the show, we were going through, kind of a mock rehearsal, and they said pick a player and pitch them as the #1 overall. Now, I want to be clear, I wasn't saying that Celentano should have been the #1 overall, but my affection for him as an individual.
You went for it.
I went for it, and I just talked about him, and he said, do you want to change it up and give us a different look? I said, kid's going to be a top 5 pick, and he's going to be a career MLSer, if not further. And he goes, that's pretty bold. And I said, you can buy my tab in a year. Still haven't received payment.
There's Can. All the while, Can's been such a pro about all this. And the way his teammates mobbed him in Harrison, New Jersey in the round of 16 tells you just about all you need to know. After all, every goalkeeper hopes they get their chance. He was at the age of 31, truly getting an opportunity to be the guy for some measure of time before that injury robbed him of that moment. But perhaps it's given him a chance at this, 3 games away from lifting the first trophy in FC Cincinnati history. Potentially. Hagelin. Ricochets free off Ibarra. Obido is after it. Murphy. Shoulder to shoulder crash. And Elvis Osmanovic is shown a yellow card.
He's obviously going to be strict with a lot of the calls tonight, Osmanovic. What Ian Murphy does, you're impeding the overall path. It's the arm, it's the body, it's everything. Again, like, you don't have to overly agree with the card or not, but you can understand why. And that's the difference here. As a player, you're 29 minutes in, you get a real good idea what the referee's going to call. So you're going to have to back off on some of these challenges if you don't want to end up in a similar situation.
That's the 3rd card in the first 30 minutes. Murphy, Wobido, and Biasi for Pittsburgh.
Reminder, by the way, on the last 2, you had coverage on one end.
Yep.
If you're Biasi, and same thing for Ian Murphy. 2 young defenders not recognizing the fact that you've got support over the weak side shoulder. Allow that to come to you. Now the play progresses a little bit, but then you create a 2v1 and the advantage for yourself. Instead, dead ball situation for the opposition.
Robbie Mertz stands over the ball, the kid from Upper St. Clair High School. Launches for Ibarra, who snaps it down over the 6. Biasi recovers, circulates again. Header from Farrell. Gaddis circulates. And Acosta tries to settle. Pulled up by Mertz. The throw for Pittsburgh. A 6-game winning run for the Hounds. 6,107. That is high mark packed to the gills for their first win against an MLS team since 2001 at home against Columbus. And ownership, Tuffy just told Bob Lilly, just get us 1 home game against an MLS team. For some reason, there's winners and losers in draws. Pittsburgh was a perennial loser in that. That soars too far. All the while, Cincinnati, home game after home game, with the exception of the Red Bull match. Arias, Vasquez. A lot of help arriving, and as Moreno stepped through, Vasquez draws the whistle.
That's pretty from FC Cincinnati, though, and they can't complete the motion. You had Ray Gaddis moving into the channel on the far side. With the way that they play out of this, so fluent. The check down in, and then Vasquez, Arias, the move down into the corner. Nathan Dos Santos took the bait.
Mertz, Harmon. Wait. Ibarra. Harmon. Gaddis disrupted, but did not deter Murphy. A lot of credit to Gaddis and Murphy there. Part of the analysis Cincinnati walked away with watching Pittsburgh. Half their open play goals scored this year come off wide service. Largely shut that down tonight. Slipping through, finding Wobedo, bypassing Etu. Wobedo, Baji seeking Vasquez. Arias. Forward from Griffin. Mertz. Hoovered up by Wobedo. He's there again. Wobedo is a human eraser. That's a card to Baji. Fourth card tonight, 3 to Cincinnati.
Told you it was going to be tight. Surprised that Wobedo got away with that one right there. And a reminder, 11 minutes into this match, we picked up a yellow card. You talked about the width for Pittsburgh Riverhounds, I'd say lack thereof for Cincinnati over this stretch. The creativity you just saw going the other way for Wobedo and connecting ball with Haji down into the corner. All because of the fact that Wobedo picks it up and actually starts on the exterior, starts to drive it in the middle, drags a player with them, but then creates that space on the far side of the field to slip it through. Good pressure by the Hounds to not necessarily press, but just maintain a line of confrontation where if you do get a touch and you feel like there's going to be a little bit of time to play, you are blatantly mistaken, because the ability to close down so rapidly is causing a lot of frustration for FC Cincinnati in their attack right now. I mentioned how much you get in terms of the willingness to dig in. These Riverhounds players, there are so many guys on this field right now that are beyond comfortable outside of their starting position. So you've got a guy like DZ Harmon at right wing back, who for his short career so far and the previous 2 years at the Charleston Battery, a 9, a 7, 11, and a diamond, right? Understands 3 or 4 different tactical looks for him. And that's what's going on tonight. You've seen him really high, but also very deep. And so Ray Gaddis is trying to find the balance. When can he go, as opposed to having to sit and absorb some of the pressure? And that irritation has spread a little bit all over the field for FC Cincinnati. Still the aggressor on the ball, but certainly not in the manner in which Pat Noonan would like.
Vasquez. Haglund. Who knew? Acosta, right wing back. Not so fast. Haglund. Yaska centers the three. Haglund for Arias. Vasquez. Has support from Murphy. Gaddis. They've pinned Pittsburgh all the way back. Around the outside. Vasquez. Vasquez turned away. And with Baji chasing, the weight spillage sent over the end line.
Danny Rivera slow in rotation to chase down Lucho Acosta. Notice the reach. He recognizes that quick acceleration by the 10, moving down into the corner. So tricky with the way in which he deploys this message. Drop that shoulder down in and then spin back over the right side. Just a little tactical change from the Hounds to dropping into a 6.
Corner from Acosta.
And watch this, because this was something that you and I had a little fun with pregame. You saw Danny Rivera. We said, where are they going to deploy him? You said, would they be willing to man mark? And oddly enough, notice the one-on-one. This actually occurs about 20 seconds prior, where Danny Rivera has dropped down into the midfield next to Junior A2, and he's shadowing Lucho Acosta a little bit. This is not unnatural for a Bob Lilly coach team and Danny Rivera within the midfield. He actually did it the first time back in 2020. They were playing Indy 11. It was right out of COVID. It was a game in July. And at that point in time, Tyler Pasher, who was a striker for them, he took Danny Rivera, just dropped him into the midfield, and man-marked him the entire game. Of course, the 97-minute winner and a 1-0 loss didn't help, but
it was a screamer.
Yeah,
though.
it was job well done for the majority of it.
Whoa, good effort by Griffin. It came out of nowhere. A ball ricocheted right to him, and he swings it wide of the post.
Be curious to see if they stay with it.
If your greatest concern tonight is Lucho Acosta, why wouldn't you throw something that you hardly ever see at him?
Well, the problem is Lucho Acosta is the greatest concern, but I can name not 10 others.
Yeah.
And one of them standing in goal.
Yeah.
Right? It's what you're going to deal with. Now, certainly, especially with the inability to build at this point in time, it's something to throw at, but you also, what is it, cut off your nose to spite your face? You can't remove every ounce of your attack.
Right.
And you have to be careful with that too. Now, it does put a little bit more pressure on Biasi, because now you're asking him to come high with Rivera wedged underneath. That's what Acosta's recognizing right now, the mark. You can see him 10 yards to his right shoulder. Watch the little step every time. Peter Pan found a shadow.
Just like July of 2020. It hit us, I think, at the same time when we saw Rivera had been out for the better part of 2 months and appeared in the starting lineup. He's not a specialist necessarily, but it made sense. Forward from Acosta. Biasi. Here's Miazga. Sending to the left-footed center back Murphy. Picked up by Ibarra. Wins in 9 games here at TQL for FC Cincinnati. Reds have brought up a prize prospect. The Bengals are at the height of their powers. Sports in Cincinnati have never quite felt this good, or perhaps it's just been a while. It's all rolled at the same time. Down the line, off of Harmon. This is the venue they built in the West End. The apple of their eye since they began play at Nippert Stadium some 7 years ago. Ball launched up for Vasquez, and Waite, aggressive, flying through the air to collect. Vasquez, met by Dos Santos. That's a concern. Player down for Pittsburgh. Coming into this game, there were 2 injury concerns. Robbie Mertz, who picked up a tweak playing out the final 10 minutes of their league game against Phoenix Rising on the weekend. And Dikwa, who was dealing with a leg injury, but ultimately appeared to go out with an upper body, shoulder, or arm injury, a collision with Wobodeau about 10 minutes into the game. So whether or not Mertz is able to continue is another question for Bob Lilly now.
Reminder too, if you can't make it to the dressing room and you hope that you don't have to make a change, now you're down to 1 window. Yep. 1 sub. 3 players for sure, but 1 sub, which makes you wonder if you can find a way to just get to halftime to 10, or if you make the change, does Bob Lilly consider making another one in the dressing room because of the fact that you no longer have the ability to do any more damage after that? Just the 1. Now, there's not a ton for Robbie Mertz on his challenge, but this is how Albert Dikwa went out. Remember, he had a chance about 3 minutes prior. Contact, Wobodeau. Yellow card for Wobodeau. But an early night for Albert Dikwa in this Open Cup match for the Hounds.
He actually walked off the field in the 14th minute. Was attended to for a while before that. Mertz does return for the time being. Sometimes you see a player sit down on the field, the referee gestured to the watch, said, hey, time wasting, watch out. Mertz had been dealing with a pretty nasty injury that quite easily could have, nearly did, take him out of contention tonight. Well, I think Cincinnati might have something of a case here. If that ball doesn't hit the ref, I'm not sure it's still in Pittsburgh's possession anyways, and ball don't lie.
One way to make friends with Pat Noonan.
4 added minutes.
They got to speed up their level of play, Cincinnati. Guys are calling for that. I mean, Lucho Acosta, Arias on the near touchline. Saw the same thing with Dominic Baggi up top, asking for it. It just almost seems content that they're not willing to play quicker.
That too. From Ibarra, upfield from Biasi. You also have to contend with Biasi's yellow card. He's had a couple fouls since as well. He may not make the distance tonight. The Bailey, as always, orange, blue, proud as ever. Negging upfield. Costa slipped away from him briefly. Farrell had to be sure. Haglund. Wobodeau. Sprayed outside by Moreno, so Gaddis on his horse. Arias. Harmon. Pittsburgh a walkover over RNYFC, the MLS Next Pro, the team that wasn't. Knocked out Maryland Bobcats, and then at New England, home against Columbus to reach this quarterfinal. That stayed in remarkably. Harmon. Whoa, but oh. Costa accosted. And a free kick in the final 80 seconds of the first half.
What's better, the chase by Harmon or the move by Wobo? For DC Harmon to keep that thing in was quite incredible.
Almost defied the laws of physics, I think.
Just watch within the midfield. Junior Moreno just bumping up a little bit. As he does, he's taking the space that's given to him. I don't blame him, but the problem is they're losing some of their flexibility to build out of these center spots. A lot of balls coming into Wobodo, and he doesn't have the ability to find that immediate 5 to 7 yard ball and link up play because Moreno's come high. Acosta started to search a little bit deeper, almost cat and mouse with Danny Rivera now. If you're just joining us or need to be reminded, Bob Lilly has deployed a bit of an old school method, and his man marking Lucho Acosta with Danny Rivera, certainly out of necessity.
And if you're Cincinnati, I don't care how much film and prep you do, you were not looking in July 2020.
No.
That is not a common theme for Bob Lilly. And halftime arrives. Same story as it was last year in the opening round of the Open Cup for FC Cincinnati. 0-0 at the intermission.
You just got to play faster. You know, the communication has to be at another level if you're FC Cincinnati, because the opportunity and space is there, but you have to step into it quicker and get out of your normal starting points, as the Pittsburgh Riverhounds have. They've done a really good job, injury or not, of just maintaining an overall defensive shape while still here and there trying to stretch the game a little bit. But it's going to have to take something special in the second 45 minutes, because their attack, we'll say, was anemic, and that's being polite.
0.11 expected goals for Pittsburgh, 0.35 for FC Cincinnati. That's the all-important goose egg at halftime here between FC Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Sprinklers are coming up. That's kind of part of the Open Cup mystique, second half too. Halftime of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal round. It is game number 1 of 4 over the next 2 days. FC Cincinnati and Pittsburgh Riverhounds are scoreless. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Protective Stadium in Birmingham will play host as the Legion welcome Inter Miami. You'll see the broadcast on the CBS Sports Golazo Network. That's, of course, one of 2 games tomorrow night. Real Salt Lake and LA Galaxy will feature from Sandy, Utah, right here on the BR app and BR Football YouTube page. Later tonight on CBS Sports Golazo Network, from Bridgeview, Illinois, the Chicago Fire and the Houston Dynamo. It is scoreless here, and a cup set could be afoot. Let's take a look at first half highlights, of which there are a couple. How about the early effort here from Jamali Waite?
It was a good start from FC Cincinnati and immediately rewarded with the dead ball situation. Lucho Acosta, as he floats it, great redirect, but no one on the end of it. Defensively, you thought, okay, this might be a problem for the Hounds, but then they started the explosion going the other way. This is exactly what you're looking for. Sit down deep, find a little bit of space, use the speed, size, and power of Albert Dequa to stretch the game, get into one-on-ones, and go pick your moment. Unfortunately for them, that would be short-lived because just 14 minutes into the game, the contact with Wobodo in the midfield picks up the yellow card. They bring in Marky Barr, and all of a sudden, they lose the 9. FC Cincinnati going the other way. How, oh how in the rule book, this is a yellow card. It still ceases to amaze me. I understand why IFAB put it together, but you're going to have to convince me otherwise that he's not on the bench.
I'm not going to do it. Anywho, Acosta threw for Vasquez. Wade able to push it away.
And this is the combination that FC Cincinnati has really lacked. And right after this moment was right when you had Danny Rivera starting to track Lucho Acosta in a man-marking one-on-one situation. The problem was is you lost the width of the field. So Pittsburgh Riverhounds, in one area, you're able to close down the opportunities going forward for FC Cincinnati. In another, you remove the ability to stretch the game. This was the only chance they had after that. It's an opportunity for their midfielder, turn number 9, Danny Griffin, right on the near post, but just to the outside.
Those are your halftime stats. Bob Lilly said we cannot win a 25-75 possession split. It's about 60-40 at present, but just 5 shots and less than half a total expected goal between the teams.
Listen to some of these, though. You know, the stats, advanced metrics that we have behind the scenes. You get advanced stats, touches in the box, entries into the final third. The Hounds are either leading or right there with FC Cincinnati the entire time. One of the other reasons that they're struggling without Albert Dequa isn't just because he's gone out for injury. It's because Edward Kizza picked up the red card. So your number 1 and number 2 selections at the target striker position unavailable for tonight.
2 leading scorers on the season. And whether or not we'll see any of Robbie Mertz, we're going to find out here in the next 10 or 20 seconds. As Pittsburgh retakes the field for the second half, the roar of the crowd surely for FC Cincinnati. Here come changes. So Haglund comes out defensively for FC Cincinnati, and it's Yerson Mosquera who comes on in his stead. Canardo Forbes will come on for Robbie Mertz, who went down in the 41st minute and had been dealing with an injury. Well, King Kenny.
It's not a massive surprise. I told you going in that if you were Bob Lilly, you got to find a way to get Robbie Mertz to the dressing room so that you don't use another sub window. So successfully, they're able to not only not cup up a goal, but manage that. So now all of a sudden, yes, you've used 2 subs, but you retain 2 windows with 3 players remaining. That's the most important thing for the Riverhounds. Don't be surprised at the fact that Nick Haglund has taken off here, coming back from injury. That's load management for Yerson Mosquera, not starting the game, and working Nick Haglund back into rotation as to why Mosquera comes in.
Fans here taking on the sights and sounds. That's Chief and Schwei sitting in the midst of the club level here tonight. The Bailey is only $5.13. Of course, a nod to the area code. They've made this an affordable night here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, but how much is Das Boot? We still haven't figured
I'm not paying for it.
I'll buy you one. Okay. I'm keeping the souvenir cup, though.
I know you are. Those are reusable, you know. Farrell circles back into the second half here in this quarterfinal. Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. FC Cincinnati, they have to be the favorite. #1 in MLS right now. 11 unbeaten all competitions. Everything that Cincinnati fans dreamed of when they moved up from the USL Championship has come true. It took a minute, but they're here. Pittsburgh, one of the heated rivals of their time in the lower divisions. Even without a win, it was always a difficult, tough sled. Second in the East. Badji flying, firing, waits, hangs on.
I like it though from Dominic Badji. All of a sudden, everything that they had done in the opening window was trying to find a way to work off of each other. Arturo Ordonez recognizes that, slows down a little bit, not expecting him to step forward. And you got to give a lot of credit to Dominic Badji. In this stretch that he's been in great form. Yeah, just the 3 assists to his name. But a friendly reminder that Brendan Vasquez statistically hasn't given you what you were looking for. Started to heat up recently, but the numbers off pace from last year. Obviously Brenner and his pending departure, rehabbing an ankle injury back in Brazil. Badji though understands what is asked of him. Just as a striker, but under Pat Noonan, part of the opening day selections last year, early on in the season. Ian Marcanic, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Actually, the guys that were called to action early on that year. But a great step in so far.
That 6-0-4 number, by the way, does include the time in the championship for FC Cincinnati. Acosta. This is brilliant. If Wobodo can catch up, Dos Santos slashes that dangerously. This is Junior Etu. A lot of space to run into. Sweeping out Danny Griffin. Dev, if you're Pittsburgh, they did in fact escape to halftime. It's not quite the way they thought this game was going to play out. To what extent now do we see Lily Ball at its apex? The 5 sitting deep and imploring Cincinnati to come at them.
With the lack of striking options and the limited subs, you would have to imagine that they want to win this in regulation. And people at home are going, yeah, obviously. But from a tactical standpoint, you're not going to be afforded the ability to stretch this game any further if it continues to progress. So my real question mark is going to be is where's that going to come from? Because even with the addition of Canardo Forbes, you still got Danny Griffin, everybody that's in there, you don't really have the ability for a true attacking option. And to continue to build is the harder part. So I lean on the speed, guys like DZ Harmon, Biasi, one of which that was sitting on a yellow card.
Mosquera, fresh into the game. Field Murphy. Someone paid the bail.
Just watch this, by the way. Something that we didn't address overall, and I didn't pick up until I looked at my notes at halftime. So, continued infractions. Wobodo, 5th foul of the game. Picks up the yellow card 11 minutes in. That's his 2nd of the tournament. There is yellow card accumulation in Open Cup. So it's easy enough to think, okay, if he picks up another card here, he's getting thrown out. Yeah, that's true, but even if it's just a yellow and you don't grab the suspension, you can get yellow card accumulation. It doesn't reset itself.
Some have noted in the past that the teams that have to play more games, that's of course a logical detriment to them.
This is their 7th game in 25 days.
I just mean within the tournament, but yeah, the congestion too.
That too.
Yeah.
Well, I knew what you were saying. You knew what I was saying. They just didn't know what we were saying.
What else is new? Spring over the top of Forbes. does gain the captain's armband from Mertz. Would wear it on most occasions. A little less mobile, but the USL's all-time assist leader. Vasquez. Dos Santos won a national championship at Marshall. A number of players that have come out of that highly celebrated Pitt program as well. Etu denied Biasi. Found a bit of width here. Forbes maintained through Arias. Ball rolled across. Etu taken off his foot. Murphy, right place, right time.
How does he not hit that ball?
All the while, Acosta, he doesn't need to be asked twice. Swerving his way in, Dos Santos cut it out. And look, Etu's not really known for scoring a lot of goals, but when it's there for you, when it's on a platter like that.
You don't need to be at the top of the 18 with your instep, and King Kenny's just put it on a platter. All-time leader in USL Championship assists. Great work, by the way, and hold-up play, and lean back over the shoulder. You gotta just step right through it, pick out a corner, and go. That's the best opportunity we've seen for the Riverhounds this game. But it does go back to possession, right? You gain it, you push high. They don't have the ability to stretch, so try and find a way defensively to just push away the options, slowly move together. That's what you're seeing. Marky Barr rotating to the right, Canardo Forbes to the left. It does make it a bit more difficult centrally for Junior A2 because Danny Rivera, look at the left side of your screen, still following Lucho Acosta around like a lost puppy dog.
Oh, I think the dog found what it was looking for.
There's a ton of space down underneath. Just the ability to step into it defensively, you have to give the Hounds credit.
It's easy work for Miazga. Inviting Murphy forward. Gaddis. Costa a little push into Harmon.
Go back to this chance. Watch Canardo Forbes as he comes back across here. The touch that you're gonna get, just good right there. That hold-up play, smartly done by DC Harmon because it holds Ian Murphy. But Junior A2, head down. You want it with your instep, but even if you lace right through this thing, you're just inside the top of the 18. Just pace and go after the goalkeeper.
Slid into Etu. It's a risque ball from Dos Santos. Ibarra. Offside for Forbes. Let Forbes roam the wing to start.
Yeah. You know you had it on your bingo card.
That's the sicko bingo card.
Let's be clear, Canardo Forbes, at this stage in his career, with all due respect, and he would tell you, he's going to take every advantage he can get. Fleet of foot is not exactly in the scouting report anymore.
They'll find Acosta. Slipped ahead, Baji, now it's Vasquez! Brandon Vasquez for FC Cincinnati. 10 minutes into the half, puts the home side ahead. And could they reach their first semifinal since that flaunted run from the lower divisions? And there is no VAR at this stage of the tournament.
Well, let's be really clear. Pay credit to Lucho Acosta, that touchback across. That is really close. Now the question would be here, is Dominique Badji? I'll be really clear, I'll just say it. If there's VAR, it's an offside. It's not even a question, because he's in an offside position and he touches the ball and affects the run of play. But there is no VAR, and great job by Brandon Vasquez on the back post to continue the run. Many a player in that situation would put their head down or look for a whistle for the referee. That's not the case. Told you coming in. Struggled a little bit for Brandon Vasquez in league play. The momentum, the opportunities have started to heat up, but 7 goals all time in 11 Open Cup appearances has now turned to 8 and 12. Not too shabby a number. Get one more look at it. Watch the touch by Badji, even his run enough. Right there in an offside position. Vasquez on, sight set, lead FC Cincinnati.
And the Riverhounds now have their work cut out for them. This is an FC Cincinnati team that is more than comfortable at 1-0, especially here at TQL. Picked up by Harmon. Etu slides to Ibarra, who puts that in the air for the attempted bike. And a foul and a free kick earned by Biasi. It's Arias who's done the harm. Be the first set piece that Forbes gets to take. Bob Lilly just gave some instruction to Joey Farrell.
See if you can get a little pick out of DZ Harmon. He's created some good separation so far on his runs.
Put in play, reaching the end line, up into the air over Farrell by Griffin, but it wouldn't have counted anyways. And Cincinnati making 2 changes that'll leave Pittsburgh quivering in a moment.
Clever though from Kenardo Forbes, just can't get on the same page as Danny Griffin. They're calling this thing out. That angle, very difficult to tell, to get the ball to check up in such short a distance, especially with the pace that Danny Griffin's got, come all the way back around the ball, near impossible.
Yuya Kubo and Alvaro Villarreal come in. That's it for Gaddis and Badji. Badji was granted the assist on the goal. Villarreal. Kubo. Vasquez, he has a goal tonight, the goal tonight. Forced away by Forbes. Villarreal, Kubo, Acosta. Slithers through, Acosta continues. Offered back to Villarreal. Watch out, Moreno. That's blocked. And Farrell leans back down. Contact to the head.
His vision, man. Ball at his feet. Lucho Acosta wants to be. We're looking at one of the best in the entirety of MLS and North American soccer. The level that he can produce within a game, the magic seems to always follow. A little bit of luck on the attacking side tonight never hurt. And the love from the supporters being shown. Rumor has it your name's on the chant next.
Doubt it.
Correct. It's the Uber driver outside.
Ian Murphy. Now Wobedo. Over the top for Acosta. Offside flag is up this time. Harmon. Fresh legs of L'Oreal. Cincinnati thought surely that was theirs. L'Oreal got a touch to force it free. Moreno. Turned away by Danny Griffin. Mascara. He'll take that space. Turning. Kubo. Corner. Kubo scoring against Red Bull in the round of 16.
Probably one of my favorite things about this FC Cincinnati back line is just an unbothered level of aggression that they bring to the game. Ian Murphy starting to understand what's being asked of him. Matt Miazga, the preeminent voice. Yerson Mosquera, primarily on the left side, tonight on the right. With the departure of Nick Haglund, all of them willing at any point in time to drop the hammer and chase the game.
DQL sounds like a powder keg. Acosta. That is a foul for Miazga.
Miazga, I'm not necessarily sure what the call was for. Well, let's a good look at it. Some fun battles between he and Joey Farrell tonight. What's your quote in the first half? Joey Farrell, the USL Championship all-time leader in stitches.
Yep. I've seen this.
but not minutes lost, because he just comes back onto the field.
Correct. Tripping to ground. It's back to Cincinnati. It's Acosta, two players waiting to enter. And an injury opens the door. Manu and Lopez. That's enough for Biasi, who played about 40 minutes on a yellow card.
He certainly had his work cut out for him, didn't he? Biasi didn't make it easier on himself picking up the yellow in the first half. You would say that the job got much more difficult with the removal of Danny Rivera from the left flank. Coming to the inside. Not happy with the removal of the game as a conversation ensues on the sideline with Bob Lilly.
That'll get him far.
Well, this is an even bigger tweak with A2 moving out over to the left-hand side. That is something that is way out of left field, literally.
Off of Ibarra. Jeff, I'd imagine you've been around these cup competitions before. The less you see an opponent, the more those tweaks where you go, I've never seen that before.
No, yeah, it's...
And then you're thinking, have they ever even done it before? Because you haven't played them often enough to get that read.
Yeah, let's just send the video analyst down the tunnel and do me a favor, go find that game from 2020 that they were talking about in the man marking system. Why not? Well, that has almost fully removed itself from the argument at this point in time.
It's Tony Lopez on a solo pressing expedition. Player who came up through Cal United Strikers in Nisa. Harmon into the back of Wobedo. Harmon will pick this off. Lumbering sends it back to Farrell. Oscar. Lopez. It's Alacan. Hardly heard his name tonight. If Cincinnati hang on, they'd see the winner of tomorrow's Birmingham and Inter Miami game will be played in Alabama. Kubo, Barreal. Wonderful by Ordonez.
It's a great step, and you're probably going to see looks like this more frequently as DC Harmon tries to step up. You create a lot of one-on-ones, and more importantly, there's a lot more open space on the flanks for FC Cincinnati. Osumanu has assumed the role of friends for life with Lucho Acosta. Just watch him right at the top of the box, center back by trade.
Barreal offering for Vasquez.
Defensively, you track it. You just remove yourself from the argument, especially on the right side. When you come up high with the ability to drop down in, the diagonal is going to be Cincinnati's best friend.
Kubo, an entertaining dribble. Mosquera swings it outside. Harmon. There's Kubo. Nobody home. Wobedo streaks in. Lopez. Tad laissez-faire. Whistle as Lopez streaked the other way. Vasquez in the 56th minute. Only the second goal Pittsburgh is allowed in 4 Open Cup games, and the first they gave up to an MLS opponent in this tournament. Meanwhile, for Cincinnati, 1-0 against Louisville, 1-0 with a 56th minute Vasquez goal, no less, against NYCFC. And a 1-1 draw that went to pens against New York Red Bulls. Wade was slow to arrive to that, and as a result, put out for a corner.
You're going to have to find a balance real quick if you're the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, or this is easily going to go to 2 and possibly 3. Nate Dos Santos, Joey Farrell. Not overly concerned about them, more so Junior at 2 out on that left-hand flank with Arias. Trying to push up high, because then all of a sudden there's more room to operate underneath. You know, it's that long stretch, but then combo when you come back.
Barreal got under that. Oh! What a goal for FC Cincinnati! You couldn't dream that any better. Alvaro Barreal makes it 2-0.
Doesn't do it often. 113 appearances in his career, and now 15 goals to his name. But when you can hit something as splendid and as true as this, why waste your efforts on the minuscule when the grandeur await? Just floats it to the top of the box, and then the magic that ensues needs no further words for Barreal.
That boot was touched by God. Wow, what a hit. Cincinnati 2, Pittsburgh 0.
I could tell you a handful of players that wouldn't even attempt to hit it. They try and bring it down.
With the lead in hand.
So beautiful, man. You got to understand, you stay after training and mess around with stuff like that. Half of them end up in the parking lot or in the bleachers or down the tunnel in the locker room, depending on what stadium you're in.
Mosquera helps to break it up. Are you more willing in a game like this, once you have a lead, to take that goal? That ball hung in the air.
It's just the player himself.
Okay.
If you understand Alvaro Barreal and the role that he's worked himself into for FC Cincinnati, there's a constant guiding light within his performances that always lead to a positive outcome. He's so good in combination, defensively tracking back, finding a way to stretch the game, but remain calm on the ball, just like that. I mean, he makes a 30-yard run, ball's played into his feet, touch a yard away.
Here they go again, Yuya Kubo. Another corner, better mark 31. Change here for FC Cincinnati. We'll see Kimi Ordonez into the game. Missed the last Open Cup contest with the Guatemalan under-20s. Replaces Luciano Acosta, who had an assist, but it's really the goal.
The curtain call is for his effort for sure, but the ball played in. Again, you're just allowing your player an opportunity to run underneath with no clue that Alvaro Barreal is going to rip this thing from afar. Look at Brandon Vasquez's face.
Look at Wade's face.
Just remove the hopes and dreams out of every Hound player and fan with one stroke of the left foot.
I'm not one to create content for other people's social media, but if FC Cincinnati wants to have some fun, go ahead and just pick out random faces in the crowd.
Attaboy.
Because, wow. You know, early in this tournament, Lucho Acosta was in question to play a couple of these games. Do you really want to put Lucho out there, given all he had accomplished in the league? He wanted to play. He loves this tournament, and he leaves 2 goals up. A semifinal is very much in reach now for FC Cincinnati. Corner, punched away by Wade. Been called the easiest, the fastest road to a trophy that American soccer can produce. FC Cincinnati may just be 200 minutes away from a trophy. If they hang on here, they would see either Birmingham, another team from the championship, or Inter Miami so engulfed in flames that Phil Neville was unable to make it out. Lopez, can Pittsburgh find one, a lifeline, some measure of ambition to get back in? back to wait. I'll guess that that's the best $5.13. Look, there's probably $18 in Ticketmaster fees too, but the idea stands. Those fans have ever spent. Briefly picked off. Sumanu goes down. Murphy. There's blood in the water. Ordonez, Kubo, Murphy, Barreal. There are alternate timelines to this game. If Dikwa stays on the field, if Mertz stays on the field, if the flag negates the goal from Brandon Vasquez in the 56th minute, ultimately, this is the timeline that we end up in. Tola's showing me awaits to enter. He's received final instruction. Dev, it almost defies logic. From FC Cincinnati being in the semifinal in 2018 to where they are now, it is impossible to try and explain how far they've come.
Not just the fact that they're about to walk themselves into an Open Cup semifinal, barring a historic comeback of mythological proportions. But the beautiful and perfect home start. 11 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws in all competitions. That's 9-0-0 in MLS play. Fastest to 39 in MLS history through 16 games.
Stunning.
Outside of penalty shootout era, which we all loved, by the way.
I know you did.
Bring it back. The way that they do it, you know, you go back to early on this season, getting an opportunity to sit with Pat Noonan. It was just after their week 1. And they took down Houston, and they were getting ready to face against the Lions of Orlando City. They're on the road, and talked about adjustments that had to be made and how are they going to be good. And all he wanted them to do was find a way to band together and grind through results. That when things weren't going that well for you, when you didn't have Baji, when you didn't have Brenner or Brandon Vasquez or anything else, could you find a way to win 1-0? The answer is yes. And now they've taken it and run with it. So that you can take Matt Miazga off in the 80th minute of an Open Cup quarterfinal. So that you have the luxury of removing Lucho Acosta or Ray Gaddis or any of your starters. And that's just, honestly, it's the tip of the ice. They seem to get better as the season goes on, knowing what they're capable of, and yet even when teams in front of them are trying to tweak and change, they themselves are evolving through a maturation process that only sees them continue to grow and get better.
By the way, that Open Cup semifinal run, of course, 2017, the MLS franchise announced the following year, 2018. That semifinal against Red Bull, in it all the way to the end. Extra time, 33,250 attended that match. Vasquez. Yeah, that got out.
And look, it's easy for us to sit here with 10 minutes to go and the injuries that have ensued, the goals that have been given up for Pittsburgh Riverhounds, and say, game, set, match, right? You would think. And certainly the odds makers will lean towards the Hope squad. I'm right there with him. But if you're a player on the field right now in a Hounds jersey, you've still got an opportunity here. Let this journey continue. Why not? No one tells you you have to give up. The haymaker has absolutely been thrown.
Yeah.
But you've still got a fighter's chance.
If they can find just one. Perhaps that can throw off the air of invincibility that this venue, this team, seems to exude. And you know, it's worth noting, Dev, a lot of people don't recognize maybe what's going on in lower divisions, and these games give them that chance. RSL Galaxy here tomorrow on the BR app and the Bleacher Report Football YouTube page, 9:30 Eastern time. The two West games, there's one that has just kicked off, Chicago and Houston. That's scoreless. But what John Harkes and Alan Koch did at the beginning at FC Cincinnati didn't go unnoticed. What Bob Lilly's done for some 30 years, it's moments like this where regardless of the result, we can all come together and celebrate what he's accomplished.
It's incredible. I mean, you're looking at one of the pillars of American soccer.
The number of different leagues he's had to navigate, the number of clubs. He was up in Canada for a while.
And understand this too, it's easy for you and I to sit here because we've seen him for so long.
Right.
Watch Pat Noonan.
Sure.
On the sideline, what Bob Lilly means to this country and what he's done for the growth of this sport.
He was quite clear about it when we spoke to him this week.
It's a tremendous amount of respect within the community for the great man that is Bob Lilly, because not only is he an amazing tactician, has the recognition and the ability to develop incredible talent, he's a great person. Relatable in so many different ways, and he's a very specific style of coach. You have to be willing to take a lot of direction. He's demanding. Again, coming in, I told you, you're going to see a lot of different looks and shapes. I mean, Junior Etu has gone from a double pivot holding midfielder to the single, jumping up into the attacking mid. He's playing left wing back. And that's just one player.
Sure.
But that's the mantra by which not only does he operate within, but he finds a tremendous amount of success.
You know, I asked him, because he can be stoic, as this finds Ibarra down the line. And he sends this service. It's met by Powell. Are you having fun? How fun was the Columbus game? He said the fun part for me isn't necessarily personally winning the match. It's that there's young players that maybe are on their first contract, players deep in their career that come here like Bernardo Forbes, and I can help them reach their ceiling. I can help them experience things they wouldn't experience. Maybe they make more money somewhere else. Maybe they go to another level or another league. But to be part of that journey for a player, I mentioned Jamali Waite called into Jamaica.
That might not happen without him.
His name was nowhere in that conversation.
Very good chance, yeah.
Such is the impact of Bob Lilly, the godfather of Christian Pulisic, no less.
Keep it Open Cup relevant. So Jamali Waite, let's talk about another goalkeeper who's been to an Open Cup final, in Danny Vidiella of Sacramento Republic.
Yep.
Who won the Golden Glove here for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds just a couple of seasons ago.
Sure.
Brandon Miller, who has the lowest goals against average in USL Championship history.
Kubo denied.
Single season, 2015. One of the greatest teams that has ever graced the grounds of USL Championship. FC Cincinnati knows a thing or two about that. 2018 and that team they put out.
Sure. Ball slid ahead for showing me, and showing out is Can. Look at the teams that have reached the quarterfinal these past couple of years. Union Omaha of League One fell 6-0, got the wrath of Kansas City. Sacramento went to the final, were level with about a quarter hour to play in Orlando, ultimately fell in that match. Birmingham will have their go tomorrow against Inter Miami. Of course, the winner of that match likely now to see Cincinnati. We have one more draw left, right? The hosting for the semis and the final. It's quite a collision.
I told you, I'm barely recognizing what day it is.
Yeah,
Do we? Do we have one more?
I don't.
I believe you're right. With the 4, you decide who hosts the final, something like that. How odd the schedule, by the way, this year.
Ibarra. That's ushered through. Forbes. It's all closed down around him. Touched over to Griffin. 4 yellow shirts hung up by Ibarra. Out to Griffin. Who juggles backward. Farrell. Swung outside by Osamanu. And served up toward Osamanu. That's going to drop atop the 6. Turning shot away from Showing Me. And hit on the first time. That's some real Boreal stuff. Header forward once more. Bouncing can. Plucks it over the top of Showing Me.
Great step by Ian Murphy as this ball sprays its belt back up through. Thought Cornado Forbes should have hit it the first time. But then as it recycles back out, watch the center back. Well done. Trust the fact that Boreal is going to be there. Doesn't step to try and go 2v1. Yes, you get a second bite coming back through, but at that point in time, you're marked up. Love that move from the young defender.
All the while, there's another coach in the other technical area who spent close to a decade essentially apprenticing after a national team career, over 200 appearances. As a professional, Pat Noonan with the Galaxy, a brief stint as an assistant with the U.S., but he went to Philadelphia. When Chris Albright got the job here, Noonan was top of mind. An Open Cup winner previously, and yet even when you mention he got all the names right for Pittsburgh in our call this week. I know that sounds minuscule, but it's a sign of respect, a sign of preparation. He still turned around and gave all of that respect back to his assistants. As humble a human being as you'll find in the coaching profession. Farrell battling with Kimi Ordonez. That'll escape.
Yeah, he's a player's coach for sure.
He's been there.
Yeah, but there are guys that have been there who you don't want to play for, all due respect. And I'm not saying names, I'm saying that you sit in a room with them or you try and talk about it and it's not enjoyable.
Say names, please.
Yeah. Weird, someone just texted me. But he understands the pulse of his team, right? He walks a really good line of, this is how we're preparing, follow my lead here, but then also ushering a player in a direction that they may not necessarily want to go to help further their development, to further their cause, because they also understand that this is still business and they want to get results and there's an end game. But whether it's some of the rumors at the beginning of the year and what still could be for Brandon Vasquez, the Brenner situation in the best of ways, like, they want to give everybody the opportunity to succeed within the squad, but beyond that as well. And as a manager, to be able to eclipse all those levels, you check one of those, you might be able to find yourself in an Open Cup semifinal. You start checking all these off, now all of a sudden you're seeing the success that follows the manager and the players and the organization. From competition to competition, every single day, every single week, recognize the fact this team is playing since Pat Noonan took over. This is their 9th time they're playing a game in 3 days or less. 9th time. That's absurd. And yet they're unbeaten, 6-0-2.
Kubo! Wait. Boreal, the fans want to see an encore. That header is up and over the top of Wade. 5 added minutes. Is there a Pittsburgh miracle in the cards?
Kubo hurt himself on the backside of it. Dos Santos, the back three, they've started to get wider and higher, of course. But as he comes out, Kubo just comes across and he's a little tentative right now. Just hunched over in the middle of the field.
They're out of subs, both teams. What you see is what you get from here. Siphoned off by Murphy. They've rotated center backs in this tournament quite a bit. Murphy's been the constant. Whereas so often in the regular season, Murphy filling in as needed. It'll be 12 unbeaten all competitions for Cincinnati. The longest active span in American soccer. Barreal sweeps inside, maintains still, and wins a corner. Scintillating stuff from Alvaro Barreal.
Well, the biggest spark that we've seen from FC Cincinnati, and it's not because of the goal, although that certainly doesn't hurt. And I talked about the calming nature of with him on the ball on the field. Clinical. And putting his own on at this point in time. Admission soon to follow.
The Cincinnati have one more exclamation point in them tonight. The cost off, it'll be Barreal to take the corner. Swings, header, snapped in! That is a vicious header from Arias. And FC Cincinnati is running on to the semifinal. Cincinnati's first appearance in the penultimate round since 2017.
Heck of a ball that's whipped in here, just curling away right at the top of the six. Goalkeeper knows that you can't chase in that situation. And if you're Arias, you're just drifting off the back shoulder. Good little move to the inside. Joey Farrell's marked up for Brandon Vasquez. Watch him attack this thing. Just right into the upper corner. X marks the spot, and his first goal for FC Cincinnati to push them through into the Final Four.
Santiago Arias in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. Alas, it's Cincinnati who did it for the brand tonight. Forbes slid through here. The shot is on and in. Tala showing me. Showing something in stoppage time for Pittsburgh.
Gennaro Forbes, take a bow. This is all about King Kenny. Watch this move, the little spray back. How's this touch? The touch back across, and then the deflection. A bit unfortunate, to be fair, for FC Cincinnati. Barreal read it as it coming through. Instead, off Wobodo. Certainly not salvation, but respect. That they can hold their heads a little bit higher if you're the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Hold on.
Forward for showing me, and Murphy quells this. Thrust forward by Ordonez. It's a matter of seconds now. It'll be a party unseen since the days of Nippert. Tossed in by Barreal. Mere seconds now. That's offside. And that's full time. FC Cincinnati, a 3-1 win over the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. On to the semifinal. The first semi for Cincinnati since 2017. And the tournament that put FC Cincinnati on the map, brought them to the fore, sees them now just 2 games away from a trophy. It is spirited from Pittsburgh, but it's not enough. Alvaro Barreal scores one of the singular greatest goals of this tournament to help Cincinnati advance. Vasquez does score, one that'll be shrouded in a bit of controversy. That was the go-ahead. An FC Cincinnati Devils see about Birmingham or Inter Miami.
An opportunity tomorrow night for the last remaining lower division squad in Birmingham Legion, who will be hosting Inter Miami. The departure of their manager, an interim appointed staff, a little bit different, and on the road. Can they take down Tom Zone, who knows a thing or two about this competition as well?
That to be worried about tomorrow. This is what we saw tonight. Albert Dikwa was questionable coming into this game, but he would start. He would only last 11 minutes.
He's so good at the timing, especially the way that the Hounds want to play. He knows that the ball, it can be coming from the right flank to left or square right down the middle. And as it comes through, great acceleration, but not able to peel off quick enough. This time, he's trying to help out defensively. The target man dropping down in, combines with Wobodo. Wobodo gets the card. And Albert Dikwa gets the card off for the end of the night.
Well, Pittsburgh trying to create something in this second half. If Etu hits that on the first time, we could have a very different evening.
How does he not hit it, by the way? Because there's a clear path to any corner that you wanted to here. Alacan would have been stuck dead in his tracks, but then all of a sudden, the magic that is Lucho Acosta. It's a great little run. He actually wants this out in front of him. Is it offside? 100% it is. And it's the fact that you've got Dominique Badji, who is involved in the play, who does get a touch on the ball, who is credited with an assist. But all that matters for FC Cincinnati is the man on the end of it, Brandon Vasquez. 12 appearances all-time in Open Cup play. A man who won a title in 2019 with Atlanta United. 8 goals, 75% of the time, Brandon Vasquez finds pay dirt.
I mean, come on.
Ridiculous. This is an absolute joke of a move that Barreal puts on it. Lucho Acosta, just drift this thing to the top of the 18. You go get it and have some fun. All of a sudden, Barreal's at home playing FIFA. Ooh. What a joke of a strike and a wonder goal for the wingback.
And he getting assists too.
Great header, great move. You're just tired legs if you're the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. You know that you're trying to find a way to just stay in it. Unfortunately, they check out mentally. But Shawunmi did not. Tola Shawunmi, in his short professional career, drafted last year by Atlanta United. He's not signed. He wanders. Pittsburgh pick him up. And his first goal for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Chance to have for your final thoughts as we see the match stats here.
For the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, you're going to feel hard done because of the injuries. You lose Dikwa early. You lose Robbie Mertz at halftime. You don't have other options striking-wise, and it's an offside goal. There's no doubt about it. But credit to FC Cincinnati where it's due, because they stayed the course, they trusted the process, and it sounds so cliche, but guess what? It's a cliche for a reason, because it works, this system works, success in the future and beyond, but all they care about right now is the next 90 minutes, and they're going to get a chance in about a month and a half's time for a shot at an Open Cup title, semifinal, August 23rd.
Right now, Chicago and Houston are live on CBS Sports Golazo Network. Grab the CBS Sports app, get after it. Meanwhile, tomorrow on Golazo, Birmingham, Inter Miami, winner will see FC Cincinnati, RSL, and LA Galaxy right back here on Bleacher Report. For our entire team in Cincinnati and beyond, Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts saying thanks for watching. Semi-final bound, FC Cincinnati moving on 3-1 over Pittsburgh.